An ancient word of wisdom states that trouble never comes alone. The Garabadjiu family from Moldova can confirm this better than anyone. The troubles began 24 years ago when Ion was hitchhiking to get to Bender. He was picked up by a drunk driver, and at one point the driver lost control of the vehicle and it went off the road. As a result of the accident, the driver remained unharmed, but Ion has undergone various trauma, spine and pelvic fractures. When we had passed the town of Caușeni, I saw that he was drunk and asked him to stop the car, but he wouldn't. The car crash followed soon after. After spending a night in Caușeni, they transferred me to the neurosurgery department in Chișinău. There, I have undergone 5 surgical operations. The first rehabilitation period lasted almost 5 years, time that should have helped recover the bone structure of his spine. It was a decisive period for Ion's health. We were told that in 5 years' time after the surgical procedure, nothing would improve too much because half of the spinal disc was missing. The central nerve that passes through the spinal cord was opened up and exposed, so half of the disc that lies towards the chest was present, but the other half was missing. I was also told not to make any efforts or sudden moves, otherwise it could have broken, causing the ripping of the nerve, which could have rendered the recovery impossible. Ion is firmly convinced that only by God's power was he able to survive such an accident. While at the neurosurgical center in Chișinău, he got to know 7 other patients who experienced some similar fractures and who unfortunately have not survived. During those 5 years, I would do moderate physical exercise. I also made use of a motorized bicycle, and I would ride it by making as little effort as possible. I didn't touch the wheelchair for 2 years for the same reason. I was not to make any unnecessary effort so that at least some bone structure might grow in order to support the nerve. I laid on my back only for 13 months running. I could not move. They would just turn me on a special wheel, similar to the water wheel the kids use to swim in the pool. So I would lie on this wheel in order not to develop bad sores. Ion was able to overcome that critical period largely and mainly due to his wife. Galina married him when he had already been bedridden for some time, providing a spirit of self-denial and sacrifice while being guided by a single principle. On that particular time, it never occurred to me that he might get stuck in a wheelchair forever. We just met and I loved him right away, and I figured out this tragedy is not a reason to abandon or get rid of such a person. We got married soon after the accident. At first, it was terribly difficult for her. The sufferings, hardships and trials of such a life were and still are not an easy lot in her life. The moment they overcame some of the difficulties, others crept in, proving to be even more terrible. One of them was the sudden death of Ion's brother, who would permanently help Galina take care of her husband. His brother died soon after. They say it was something wrong with his stomach. Someone had punched him in the stomach, causing his death. When he was still living, he would always help us. He never, ever refused to give a hand whenever I asked him to. When he passed away, it were my brothers who grew up and started helping us. I was never alone. Needless to say that it was painfully difficult, but I was being helped. It was and is still difficult, but when you're young, you seem not to notice all the hardships and you normally overcome them more easily. But with the passing of time, when you get older, you feel that you are not so powerful anymore. Looking back, I myself wonder, how could I have managed all and how God gave me such strength and endurance? Because I would cook, bake bread, do the laundry and all at night, because during the day I had a job to take care of. While getting older, your health gets less vibrant and it signals to you that you won't be able to carry on like you used to forever. 5 years after the accident, the Garabadjiu family was overwhelmed by another tragedy. While they were out of country for treatment in Ukraine, a devastating fire devoured their house. It so happened that our house burned down. The tragedy with our house occurred in the late 90s, years of severe poverty and crisis in our country, when it was extremely difficult to earn a penny. I received no pension, I had no wages, we didn't even have the money to travel to Chișinău. Our daily food was cornmeal mush and tomatoes. We had a sack of corn flour and we ate it up, And the moment we ran out of it, Ilya, the local Adventist pastor, started coming over. We started crying, both of us. At that time, I had not yet received Jesus as Savior, and our kid Johnny was still very young. I asked the Lord what to do next because there was no more food left. So one day, in comes Ilya with 27 lays and 60 bany. Luckily, the bread was cheap then. The pastor announced that the local Adventist community had raised the money because they knew the Garabadjius needed it. It was a sign, it was a real miracle from God. Ion, the junior, and Inessa, their children, have been affected by the hardships and the pain as well. Being in his early years, the boy already underwent several surgeries. When our Johnny was still a kid, he underwent 3 surgeries, so it makes it a total of 12 surgical interventions within our family. The daughter has been operated on 3 times, so has our son. My wife underwent 1 operation and myself 5 of them. But the storms and adversities of life have not broken the Garabadjius. On the contrary, they strengthen them, bringing them closer to each other, so that they are now a very united and strong family. Somebody once asked me how was I able to raise my children so well, get them be obedient and well-behaved. I suppose it was due to our family's circumstances, where they witnessed an atmosphere of love. They have never saw their parents quarreling and yelling at each other, so I think it did have an effect on our kids too. Even though her father is a little different from other fathers, Inessa is happy to have both parents. I have a very good father and I'm thankful for him and for the fact that I have both parents. There are a lot of children who have no parents and who are less fortunate than us. The atmosphere of love, understanding and unconditional mutual support within the family have affected even the wishes Inessa has for her personal life. I would like to have a happy life and my future husband to be a child of God, so that we'll have a Christian Adventist family. I would like to become a doctor. I've always wanted, because by having such a profession you can serve the Lord. By helping people and by being kind to them, you get the chance to reflect God and can change their lives for better. After 5 years of medical rehabilitation and special exercise, John did not have the necessary financial means for proper treatment in a medical facility abroad. They lived in poverty, and Galina alone was hardly coping with all the needs of the family. I was forced to quit my job and spend more time at home, because it would have been impossible otherwise. Maybe there are people who don't care for their household's order too much, but I'm not like that. I have been taught that all things must have their places, so having a house to run, it was impossible to take care of a job. The wood and coal for heating are expensive. It's extremely difficult to make ends meet. Needing money, I was forced to sell 5 of our beef families so as to pay the debts, which by that time amounted to some $2,000. We still owe $400 more, but we are hoping that with the Lord's support we'll pay it too. Even though it has always been hard, they continued to live, to fight, to love, and to hope that one day God will bless them. As one unknown author put it, consider your present sorrows as shadows of blessings yet to come. A shadow of a potential blessing for Ion Garabadjiu appears to be shimmering right now. Recently, the brethren from the local Adventist community have informed Ion and Galina about the existence of a neurosurgery center in Israel where consequences of trauma and lower spine paraplegia are being treated. Having examined the results of investigations by magnetic resonance, the specialists from the Russian-Israeli neurosurgical center Ihilov in Israel said they were ready to operate on Ion. We got in touch with the specialists from Israel and we got a reply from them which involves considerable expenses. In fact, we inquired of a treatment possibility in Germany as well. So about a month and a half ago, we sent our investigation files. The doctors from Israel held an investigation meeting involving their leading neurosurgeons, and they were positive as to the recovery chances. There is only one problem: the money. The surgical intervention only amounts to $50,000. plus the airfare, visas, expenses for the accompanying person. And one more thing, I was told that if during the operation there should arise some complications involving additional expenses, we'll have to cover them too. So we're praying for none other expenses and complications to occur, but you never know what the surgery itself might entail. The Garabadjiu family lacks the necessary means for treatment, but Ion is confident that the money will be found if the will of God be so. He had many experiences with the Lord, and he saw how the Most High has always answered his humble prayers. These answers have always strengthened his belief and hope that one day the divine providence will do the impossible in his life, the miracle of being able to rise and walk on his feet again. I will say just this: if it is from the Lord, if He is willing that I should walk again, it will come true. It is my strong belief. What I'm trying to say is that if it was not a mere accident or a simple whim of mine, then it is bound to become reality. And if my prayers were sincere enough, and if the Lord heard it all, then it will. Because everything on this earth is the Lord's, the gold and all the money. We are hoping and we are praying for Him to help, and the rest is up to God and to each one of us. Yes, we know that the money and the gold is Lord's, but we also know that God entrusted these resources to people so as to manage them efficiently and help those in need, including Ion Garabadjiu. If you want to help this family, you can make money transfers to the following bank accounts. You can see them on your screen right now.